So in the last class, we just discussed about the distributed system, right? So before proceeding to our the first topic, that is client server computing. So we just have a brief summary or discussion on distributed system. So actually, what a distributed system was that we discussed in the last class. A distributed system is a system in which components are located on different computers, and those computers are connected through a network through which they can communicate and coordinate their action by passing messages to one another. So what are the benefit of the distributed system? So first benefit is the resource sharing. They can share any resources. Okay. In the last class, we gave you the example of 5 computers. We assume that if we have means if we have the 5 computer, and if those 5 computers are connected distributedly, and if some resources are in one computer, we can easily access those resources from that computer through the network, right? So first one is the resource sharing. Second one is heterogeneity. What is heterogeneity? আবার শুনি আছে ন মোৰ? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
শুনি
ma'am.
আছে ন? Okay. Second one is heterogeneity. No, what is heterogeneity? Heterogeneity means variety and different of network. Means when there are some computers, and when those computers are in network in different places, so there may variety and differences in network, or they may vary in computer hardware, or they may have different OS, we don't know. So in spite of this, a distributed system, how they handle it so clearly that we don't even know the differences of network, the differences of hardware, or the means what are the different type of various OS they are installed. So although there are variety and difference in network or computer hardware or operating system, they handle it very smoothly. So this is our second point. So what is third point? Third point is concurrency. Means multiple activity are executed at same time. Clear? Next one is the scalability. Scalability means what? uh, if the number of user increases, so there may be some what you can say, there may be some problem. So how the distributed system handle the growth as the number of user for the system increases? Clear? Number second, next point is fault tolerance. In distributed system, hardware or software or network, anything may fail. We don't know, because all these things are in all these computers are in different places in different conditions. We don't know. Sometimes the hardware may fail, sometimes the software may fail, sometimes the network may fail, but the system must be designed in such a way that it is available all the time, even after something has failed. Even the network also fail, the system is designed in such a way that if it fails, then also it should be available for us anytime. And next one is transparency. So this is all about a distributed system. I think it is clear. বুজি পাইছানে clear নে?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So next we proceed to our first topic, that is client server computing. So before proceeding, I just want to say one thing, that please make a copy এখন banaba, and just write down the points that I am giving you, or just I'm just say whatever point just I say, just write it down on your copy, so that it will be easy for you. The notes are already given in the year, but the points you should note it down. কি কি points তোমালোকক কোৱা গৈছে, okay? So our next topic is client server computing. What is client server computing? Client server computing is a computing model in which client and server computers communicate with each other over a network. In client-server computing, a server takes requests from client computer and share its resources or its softwares or its applications or data with one or more client computer on the network. Clear? And a
Follow up
client, আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, তোমালোকে ডেফিনেশ্যনটো লগা হ'লে লিখি লোৱা, মই কৈ আছো। Client server computing is a computing model. এটা একটা মডেল হয়। Client server computing is a computing model in which য'ত client and server computers, client আৰু যিবোৰ server computers আছে, communicate with each other over a network.
Okay.
Okay. In
Okay.
client server computing or take a server takes request, server request লয়, a server takes request from client computers. I mean the client request the server for resources. A server takes request from client computers and share its resources, application or data with one or more client computers on the network.
Ma'am, application and data কি ক'লে?
Data with one or more client computers with one or more client computers on the network.
Okay.
Okay. And client is a device that initiate contact with the server in order to make use of shareable resources. When a client is the first device which initiate the contact with the server. So that is all about the client server computing. Now, here in client server computing, there are three components. Means basically we can say that client server computing is divided into three components. First one is client, second one is server, and third one is the middleware. Okay, notes I will give you, don't worry. Just concept to clear kora. What is client? Client, as you all know, the client is any computer that requests services from the server. Client first initiate the service from the server. The client computer or the client is also known as front end application. Front end application. Why? For reflecting the fact that the end user usually interact with the client process. And the client computer usually manages the user interface portion of the application. What is client? A client is a computer that request service from the server. Client is also known as front end application. Second, the the client usually manages the user interface portion of the application, where like validate data, validation of data by the user. This type of validation is done in client side. In the front end of the application, the users see and interact with. Front end means what? বুঝি পাইছা ন? The front page that you make while developing a website, while developing a web based application, যোনটো front page য'ত তোমালোকে
Yes.
where the designing portion will come, ক'ত কি design কৰিছা, how you designed it, how you validate it. If you have designed for a login page, there may be there are two fields. One is your ID and password. You may add validation here that the password okay. If I take the example of registration page, okay, before login the registration page is there, right? So in the registration page, what are the field we have? Name, address, phone number, something. These are the field you can add in the registration page, right? So in the registration page, if you want to validate the phone number, in place of phone number you have to add only numbers, you cannot add any character. So this type of validation is done in the front end portion, and this is known as client. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
বাকীবোৰে বুজি পাইছেনে? আমান, অৰিন্দম, জাহিদ?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that was all about client. Now what is server? A server is any computer which provides services to the client, and the server is also known as back-end application. Why? Because the server process or the server provide the background services for the client process. Okay. The server fulfill the client request by performing the service request. That means whatever service is requested by the client, the server give that service to the client. After the server receive request from the client, when the server receive request from the client, it execute database. Suppose from a database a client needs some data. Okay, whenever the server receive that request from the client, it execute database retrieval. Means it try to retrieve the data from the database and give that data to the client. Or in another sense, we can also say that the server acts as software engine that manages shared resources such as database, printer, communication link, or these are the things that the server shared with the client. Actually, the main aim of the server is to perform the back-end task, back-end application. The main aim of the server is to process the back-end application. Okay. Just wait. I will share. Okay. See, now is it visible? I have shared my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Here I will draw the diagram of client server computing. Suppose this is client. This is middleware. Database. Okay. দেখা পাইছা ন? Client, middleware and database. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This is client process. This is client process. This is middleware, which is also known as communication network. Through this way, the communication take place from client, between client and server. Okay. This is SQL here. When client wants some data, it sent a request to the server. How? Through the SQL query. It send a SQL query. The middleware client process send a SQL request through this communication middleware. Okay, this communication middleware, what he will do, he uh, transfer the SQL request to database server. This one to database server. And what the database will do, the database server receive request, he received the request, process it, he will check for the data. If it is available, he execute it and send the data back to the client. This way, data and data. Clear? Is it clear? Diagram to draw কৰি লোৱা নহলে? Sorry. Client process sent SQL request through communication middleware. Okay. ইয়াতে লিখিবা client process send SQL request through communication middleware. This one is communication middleware network. Okay, communication middleware network. ইয়াতে লিখিবা communication middleware routes, ROUTES, routes or routes SQL request to database server, means to this server. And here you write down database server process, means the database server receive request, it received the request, then validate it, execute it and send the data back to the client. Clear? বুজি পাইছানে? হেল্ল'?
Sure.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes?
ma'am.
Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. This is all about client server computing. When you were asked to write down a brief discussion of client server computing, first of all, you have to write what is client server computing. Then you write down the components in client server computing, that is what is client, what is server, and what is middleware. Then after that, you write down this, if you draw this diagram. Basically, middleware is a software which lies between the OS and the application running on it. It acts like a pipe. Okay. So client server computing is clear.
Ma'am.